So the Isishrine is believed to house the sacred mirror, Yata no Kagami, one of the three sacred treasures of the imperial household, together with the sword, Kusanagi, and jewel, Yasukaka no Magatama. A Magatama is a jewel indigenous to Japan and is made of jade and shaped in a form similar to the human fetus. At the time of the ascending to the throne of a new emperor, the three sacred treasures are transferred as a symbol of the dignity and authority of the imperial household. The physical presence of the three sacred treasures has never been confirmed, as nobody, except the emperor perhaps, has actually seen these artifacts. The religious attitude of modern Japanese is a secular one. Many Japanese visit the Ise shrine for worship, but it does not necessarily mean that they are deep believers of the Shinto doctrines or even know the particulars of the belief system. Most Japanese regard a visit to the Ise shrine as a cultural experience. Shinto itself is not a religion with strict rules and regulations, independent of the religious context. The tranquility of the deep forest and the serene beauty of the buildings of the sanctuary are inspirational, resonating with contemporary philosophies of the relationship between man and nature. Anyway, here I discussed the three sacred treasures of the imperial household, without which the authority and legitimacy of the emperor cannot be uh, guaranteed. And these are swords and jewel and mirror. But this is very important. Something very important about the Japanese culture. Nobody has actually seen the the three sacred treasures. In this book, I suggested that maybe the emperor has actually seen it, but most probably even the emperor has not seen it. When the emperor ascends to the throne, symbolically, three really wonderful boxes of which are supposed to house these three sacred treasures are handed over to the emperor. But nobody is sure if anything at all is in these boxes. I mean, it is typically Japanese. I mean, Japan is a country where the statue of Buddha in many important temples are absolutely hidden. I mean, nobody has actually seen it. Famously, in Zenkoji Temple in Nagano Prefecture, there's supposed to be this image of Buddha, but it's an absolute secret image of the Buddha. It's called Zettai Hibutsu, which means that you are not under any circumstances supposed to actually take a look at it. So nobody is actually sure what it looks like, and nobody is actually sure whether it is actually there. That is really, really, really typical of the Japanese culture. That the essence of something, at the heart of something, at the core of something, is invisible. Nobody is supposed to see it, or nobody is actually indeed supposed to discuss it like I'm doing. So nobody discusses whether the three sacred treasures of the imperial household actually exist. I mean, we don't discuss these things. So I'm discussing this because it is in the context of this global culture. When I, as a Japanese resident, reflect on what I have been assumed in for so many years in Japan, but which goes without saying, and nobody is actually addressing this issue. But I'm addressing it now. But I also think that this is extraordinary because not, I won't be doing this in normal circumstances. So you can talk about many interesting things about Japan, but for me, as a scientist and for as a neuroscientist who is who is concerned with the problem of mind body problem. I mean, how consciousness arises from the brain. For me, it's really interesting that in the tradition of Japan, all these wonderfully essential things are actually those things that are not confirmed as regarding the existence. I mean, nobody is actually sure whether these things really exist, but people believe that these things exist, and I suspect that it's actually something similar to our self-consciousness, because nobody is sure if the self is actually exists. Nobody can see it. Maybe you can feel it, but as you approach the heart of your own existence, it becomes really abstract, and you're not sure, but you believe you exist, right? So Japanese belief system is something similar to that, which I think personally is a really interesting story, I think, to be made out of this country where I am, Japan, Tokyo, from Tokyo, Kenmoge. Yeah.